Here, who will oversee digital assets?
Both. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission will definitely have Bitcoin because Bitcoin is clearly a commodity. It is fully decentralized. And then other assets will probably be in large part at the SEC. So we're going to have to provide them with adequate personnel and tools and guidance and statutes, and they'll have to make regulations that will allow them to conduct the adequate consumer protections that are necessary with regard to cryptocurrencies that behave like securities.
Senator, it's a great interview.
Tell us about what we need. What happened there? I mean, did we drop the ball in this country on why? Because you've always liked crypto.
Look, I think the underlying technology is fascinating and very powerful. I think of these protocols as operating systems on which people are developing all kinds of fascinating programs that are going to allow us to do things that we've never been able to do before. So what I want is a sensible regulatory environment so that there's certainty that you're not breaking a law, you know whether or not your project involves a security, so you know whether or not you got a problem with the SEC. I've got a stable coin bill that's a kind of simple, discrete part of this ecosystem where we could provide certainty and really help. But the failure of Congress to do that and of the regulators to provide clarity is part of what's driven activity offshore to places like the Bahamas, where you don't have the consumer protections that we would take for granted here. And here's the other thing that's really important, which is why I'd like to do a hearing and bring SBF in before the Senate Banking Committee. I have colleagues who are choosing to use this explosion as their opportunity to blame crypto and paint this whole ecosystem with one broad brush. This is about the outrageous behavior of an individual and maybe a few individuals, but it has nothing to do with the underlying asset, right? We've seen this play out how many times?
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we listen to these politicians, how soon things have changed. Bitcoin is a commodity. Bitcoin is the future. We have Senator Lummis and Senator Toomey saying that digital assets are definitely the future. And if you watched my video earlier today, I showed you Larry Fink saying the same thing. And we know BlackRock owns everything. Now we have Reeve Collins, the co-founder of Tether, speaking about FTX blow up. But guys, we know something big is going to happen to Tether. We know this for a fact. And we know Tether is not regulated anywhere in the United States. Has incorporations in Hong Kong, in Switzerland, Bahamas, but nowhere in the United States. And we know the NWO has its hands all over Tether because they're not going to allow you to act as the dollar without some type of interference. We know that USDC has been working with the Fed from the beginning. And we have over 21,000 cryptos. And we know the Fed is shrinking liquidity. And they want their stable coins and their CBDCs. And the NWO has one more crisis in order to take full control of crypto. Guys, we've seen this in big tech. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you because he knows. When it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Were you in shock about what happened at FTX? I mean, did you have any suspicions?
I think the whole industry was in shock. I even believe SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, was in shock. Now, he has to shoulder that burden. It doesn't matter if he's in shock or not, but he is responsible because he was the CEO. So he either committed gross negligence, just absolutely terrible management, or fraud. And either one at that level should end you up in jail.
How concerned should people be about using some of these exchanges? Either the regulated exchanges, and by the way, obviously, there's Coinbase, as we discussed. There was FTX.us. We'll see what happens there. There's Binance.us. And then there's a lot of folks, unfortunately, using VPNs and other things that are going offshore.
Yeah. So to utilize the exchange, that's not so risky. The risky part is keeping your money on the exchange. People are using these exchanges as a bank account. Lots of people had all of their deposits, their entire crypto net worth on FTX, and now they no longer have access to that. So in the industry, it's been known since day one, do not keep your coins on an exchange. You want to keep them in your own wallet. And then there's no risk of the exchange doing something like FTX did with your deposits.
So let me ask you, as it relates to Tether, about the trust issues, if you will, because I think there's skepticism, there's questions, and I think the questions that have sort of come from the fallout of FTX have now been put onto Tether, though, frankly, there have been questions about Tether for some time. I want to just read you 2 sentences. This is from the Wall Street Journal. You've seen the story. Tether, which is incorporated, as you know, in the British Virgin Islands, doesn't publish audited financial statements or complete balance sheet, leaving outsiders with an incomplete picture of the company's health. And there's a gentleman, Peter Crane. Peter is the president of Crane Data. He says, I've been skeptical and in disbelief that they, that is you, can get away with the lack of disclosure and with limited transparency. If you do have reserves, why don't you show them? And so I'll ask you the question, why don't you?
Well, what I can say is in the last 8 years of Tether's operating history, they've always redeemed every token for exactly $1. I sold the company in the end of 2015, and the principals have continued to operate that with, in my opinion, to the absolute best of their ability and with the best risk mitigation tactics in the industry. It has withstood the test of time.
So why do you think that then the questions persist as they do about what's really going on and what really is backing these stablecoins?
Well, Tether does offer on its website proof of its reserves, or actually audits. Every few months they post different audits on where all that cash is currently how it's being invested. Right now, people still question it, and these questions are okay. And the industry as a whole is going to become more and more transparent due to these recent failures of FTX and BlockFi and these other companies. And so that is really good for the industry moving forward.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.